There is a company that calls itself the safe AI company. Not the fastest, not the biggest. The safe one. Their entire identity is that they do AI responsibly. That company is Anthropic. And last week, 3 things happened at Anthropic that nobody is connecting in one place. First, it came out that they are paying Elon Musk $1.25 billion every single month. Second, they revealed an AI they built is so powerful they refuse to give it to you. Third, that same AI spent 1 month scanning the software your bank runs on. Your router, your hospital, your car. And it found 23,000 security holes, thousands of them critical. One of them, in software running on billions of devices worldwide, would have let a hacker create a fake version of your bank's website so convincing that your browser would have shown no warning. None. You would have typed in your password and handed it to a criminal. That vulnerability has been patched. But here is the sentence that should stay with you from this video. Less than 1% of the vulnerabilities that AI found have actually been fixed. Less than 1%. Let that sit for a moment, and then let me show you the full picture. Let's start with the Elon Musk deal, because this one genuinely surprised people who follow AI closely. Anthropic was founded in 2021 by a group of researchers who left OpenAI. Why did they leave? Because they thought OpenAI was moving too fast, too recklessly. Their founding philosophy was simple: build powerful AI, but build it carefully, with safety as the first priority. Not profits, not speed, safety. For 3 years, that identity held. Anthropic raised billions from Google, built Claude, grew quietly, positioned themselves as the responsible alternative to the chaos of the rest of the AI industry. And then, on May 6, 2026, they announced a deal with SpaceX. Not just any deal. A deal to rent the entire output of SpaceX's Colossus 1 data center in Memphis, Tennessee. 300 megawatts of compute capacity. All of it. Rented exclusively by Anthropic. And the price? $1.25 billion per month. They did not announce the price voluntarily. It only came out because SpaceX filed to go public and had to disclose it in their SEC filing. Without that filing, you would not know. $1.25 billion every 30 days through May 2029. That is $15 billion a year, going from the safe AI company to the data center of a man who has publicly attacked Anthropic multiple times, called their AI dangerous, built a competing AI company to fight them directly, and is now, simultaneously, their most important infrastructure supplier. In the business world, there is a phrase for this: co-opetition. You compete with someone and depend on them at the same time. It is not unusual in big industries, but in AI, in 2026, it is becoming the defining dynamic. And for Anthropic specifically, it raises a question. If the company that says safety first is now paying $15 billion a year to a man whose other company is racing them, who exactly is in charge of the guardrails? Now let's talk about Mythos, because this is the part of the story that I think matters most. In April 2026, Anthropic announced something called Claude Mythos Preview. A new AI model. But not a model for you. Not for me, not for Claude Pro subscribers, not for enterprise customers. For approximately 50 organizations. 50. The list includes Microsoft, Google, Apple, Cloudflare, Cisco, Amazon Web Services, JP Morgan Chase, NVIDIA, Palo Alto Networks, the Linux Foundation. These are the companies Anthropic describes as the most systemically important cyber defenders on Earth. That is the group that gets Mythos. Everyone else gets Claude. And the reason they made this decision is not complicated. Mythos is too powerful to give to the public. Let me explain what that means. Most AI models can help you write code, find bugs, suggest fixes. That is useful. That is what Claude does. Mythos does something different. Mythos autonomously discovers zero-day vulnerabilities. Zero-day means a vulnerability that nobody has found before, that no patch exists for, that bad actors could use right now today if they knew about it. And then, and this is the part that made security researchers stop cold, Mythos builds working exploits for them. Not just, here is a bug, but here is the bug, here is exactly how you would attack it, and here is a proof of concept that works. Anthropic verified this themselves. The most notable example is a vulnerability called CVE 2026-5194. It is in a piece of software called Wolf SSL. You have probably never heard of Wolf SSL, but Wolf SSL is everywhere. It is a cryptography library, the software that handles secure connections on IoT devices, routers, industrial control systems, automotive systems, billions of devices. The Wolf SSL vulnerability Mythos found had a severity score of 9.1 out of 10. Anything above 9 is considered critical. What would happen if a hacker found this before Mythos did? They could forge a digital certificate, which means they could create a fake version of your bank's website or your email provider. That would look completely legitimate. Your browser would show the padlock. No warning, no alert, no red flag. You would type in your username and password, and the criminal would have it. Silently, invisibly. That vulnerability is now patched. Wolf SSL released version 5.9.1 specifically to fix what Mythos found. That is genuinely good news. But it took an AI to find it. In a month. That no human team had found it in years. Now here is the detail that is not getting enough attention. Mythos did not find one vulnerability. Over 1 month of scanning more than 1,000 widely used software projects, Mythos flagged 23,000 potential issues. 6,200 of them were rated high or critical severity. Anthropic brought in 6 independent security firms to verify the findings. Those firms confirmed that 90.6% of the findings were real. Not false alarms. Real vulnerabilities. Real holes in software that real people depend on. Those are extraordinary numbers. A human security researcher might find a handful of critical vulnerabilities in a year. Working full-time. Mythos found thousands in a month. Scanning code it had never seen, with no human guidance. Mozilla patched 271 of Mythos's findings in a single release of Firefox 150. Cloudflare found 2,000 issues across its own critical infrastructure. A banking partner, Anthropic has not said which one, used Mythos to monitor transactions. And in one case, Mythos detected a fraudulent wire transfer of $1.5 million. Mid-execution, caught it, stopped it, $1.5 million. That did not disappear, because an AI caught something a human monitoring system missed. That is the version of this technology that everyone wants to focus on. And it is real, and it is important, but it exists alongside something else. Here is where the story gets uncomfortable. Of all 23,000 vulnerabilities Mythos found, less than 1% have been fully patched and publicly disclosed. The rest are still being worked on. Some open-source maintainers, the volunteers who keep critical software running for free in their spare time, have asked Anthropic to slow down, to stop sending so many findings, because they cannot keep up. Think about what that means. An AI found so many holes so fast that the humans responsible for fixing them asked it to stop finding more. Not because the holes are not real, because the pace of discovery has completely overwhelmed the pace of patching. Anthropic says the average time to patch a high or critical vulnerability they reported is 2 weeks. 2 weeks. In that 2-week window, while the patch is being developed, the vulnerability is known, and potentially to anyone paying close attention. Anthropic is aware of this problem. They have published what they call a disclosure dashboard. And they are urging software developers worldwide to shorten their patch cycles, to get security fixes out faster. Because the AI arms race is happening whether the software industry is ready for it or not. Anthropic's exact words were, network defenders should shorten their patch testing and deployment timelines. Translation, the old way of working is not fast enough anymore. AI finds problems faster than humans fix them. And that gap between discovery and patch is where the risk lives. Let me connect all 3 parts of this story into a single picture. Anthropic needs compute to run Mythos. Mythos requires enormous processing power, the kind that takes 300 megawatts of electricity to sustain. That compute lives in Memphis, Tennessee, in a data center built and operated by SpaceX, a company controlled by Elon Musk, who Anthropic is now paying $15 billion a year, to find the vulnerabilities in the software that runs the internet. Using an AI they built specifically because they believe they are the responsible ones. I'm not saying this is wrong. I am saying this is what it looks like when AI stops being a product launch and starts being infrastructure. The lines between competitor and supplier, between ally and rival, between safety-focused and commercially essential, all of those lines are blurring. And the blurring is happening fast. Here is what you should take from this. 3 things. Number 1. The software that runs your life has more holes in it than most people know. Not because developers are careless, because code is impossibly complex. And humans find vulnerabilities at human speed. Mythos finds them at AI speed. The gap between those two speeds is the security risk you carry every day without knowing it. Number 2. The companies you think of as competitors are deeply dependent on each other. Anthropic needs SpaceX's compute. Google invested in Anthropic and competes with them. Microsoft is a Glasswing partner and builds its own AI. Apple is in the program. JP Morgan is in the program. There is no clean map of who is competing with whom anymore. There is only a web of dependencies so tangled that nobody fully understands it. Number 3. The most important AI developments in 2026 are not the product launches. They are the quiet infrastructure deals. The SEC filings that reveal billion-dollar payments. The restricted programs with 50 partners and 23,000 security findings. The conversations between companies that happen behind closed doors and only become public when a lawyer is required to write it down. That is where the real story is. That is what this channel is here to find. Drop a comment. Does it change anything for you, knowing that the company you trust with your conversations is paying $15 billion a year to the man whose other company is racing to replace them? I genuinely want to know what you think. Subscribe to Synth. Because next week there will be another story like this one. Something real. Something verified. Something nobody else is connecting. In plain English. Before it arrives at your door.